These mistakes cost me so much money. Hey guys, what is up? Ruthie here. I'm here with another video, and as promised, I said I would make a video about why I prefer Instacart over Amazon Flex. So that is what I'm here to do. I also want to talk about some of the mistakes that I made when I first started Instacart, and I want to share some tips that I learned along the way to help me make more money and deliver more efficiently. So if that's what you want to learn, then subscribe to my channel. Gently tap the like button or smash it, up to you, whatever you prefer, and keep on watching. So I'll start with the reasons why I prefer Instacart over Amazon Flex, and simply put, it's because of distance. If you watch my last video on why I quit Amazon Flex, then you will understand why. But if you didn't, then the reason why I prefer Instacart is because Instacart is more local versus Amazon Flex. Amazon Flex warehouse is, I think, about 20 miles away from my home. Pretty much all the warehouses are a pretty distant. They have some here in New York City, but I'm not doing deliveries in New York City because so much traffic, and then you gotta deliver to all these like high rises, and I just prefer to just deal with like residential areas such as Long Island, Nassau County. I've earned way more money doing 50 miles with Instacart than I did doing 100 miles with Amazon Flex. That alone, once I realized that, I was like, okay, I don't think I'm gonna do Amazon Flex anymore, because realistically, when you count the mileage, gas, your time, realistically, Instacart is a better bet. However, if you live close to an Amazon warehouse, like some people live like right next door to one, if you live close to one, Amazon Flex is definitely would be your best bet, because the pay is nice and it's not hard. Amazon Flex is not hard. Honestly, if you're asking me, I think it requires way more work to do Instacart, because you're like lifting a whole bunch of heavy stuff. With Amazon Flex, the employees do most of the work for you. So all you have to do as an Amazon Flex driver is just drop off the stuff. So it's easy, really easy. You do a lot more work doing Instacart. However, like I said, I make more money doing Instacart. So I prefer Instacart for that reason. So now I'm going to go into the mistakes that I made with Instacart. And for me to start this, I have to tell you guys the storyline of my first time doing Instacart. I made all these mistakes on one day. I signed up for Instacart on Friday. I got accepted on Sunday. I was so eager that I got on the app and literally accepted the first order I saw. I accepted the first order I saw. I didn't know what nothing meant. I just saw money and I was like, let's go. And that goes into mistake number one, which was choosing an order with 3 full service orders in one. So my first order had 3 different orders in it. Okay, that's mistake number one. Don't do that, especially if you're a beginner. If you're a beginner, don't do. Even the pros don't like to do that. So that alone should tell you, don't. Try to stay away from it if you're a beginner. I accepted the order, and then it's in Long Beach, which is like it was like 10-15 minutes away from me. Not too bad. That is an area that I don't go to often. Not only that, it was a store that I've never been to, which goes into mistake number 2, choosing a store that I don't know. If you are a beginner, choose a store that you know, like either Stop and Shop or any store that you know. And I know Key Food, but I know Key Food in my neighborhood, not this Long Beach neighborhood. So that's mistake number 2. Do not choose a store you don't know. The more orders that you do, you definitely want to pick stores that you don't know, but that's because you have the experience, you have the speed, you have the efficiency already on tap. If you're first starting out, do not choose a store you don't know. Oh my gosh. I accepted the order. I get to the store. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. So let's just say I'm going down the produce aisle, and it told me to pick up apples and pears. So then I'll pick up the apples, and then Instacart will tell me, okay, group this with item A or customer A, I'm sorry. And then I'll pick up pears, and I'll be like, group that for customer B. That's a major tip. If you're doing multiple orders in one, separate them in the cart, either mentally or physically somehow. I do it mentally, and I'm really good at it at this point. But at first I was in that particular order, I was doing good. Order had I think a total 60 items. I could be wrong, like around 60 items. And over time, the cart got full to the point where I couldn't really it was hard to separate them mentally. I think at one point I just started putting things anywhere, and that is mistake number 3. just putting items everywhere in the cart. Don't do that, because when I got to the cashier, again, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, hey, can I just put everyone's order on the belt? And she was like, no, I don't think that's how it works. So I actually had to step aside and make sure, you know, A is with A, B is with B, C is with C, because with Instacart, you can't just put everyone's stuff on a belt and pay with it with one purchase. No, that's not how it works. I didn't know that though. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that, but now I do. Definitely separate everyone's orders mentally or physically somehow. If you need 2 carts, get 2 carts. And doing that will just make your life, it will make the cashier's life and even the customer's life so much easier. So once I finished with the purchase, I put everything in my car. This is where mistake number 4 comes into play, and that is not having a wagon. So one of the customers, they live in a building. And funny enough, this customer is the only customer that had cases of water. This was my first time doing Instacart. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm gonna keep saying that because I didn't know what I was doing, honestly. So what I had to do, because I didn't have a wagon, I didn't have a dolly, what I did was I had to do, I think, like 3 trips. It was 2 trips. So I managed to do the groceries. It's a lot of groceries. I managed to do the groceries, go up to the 4th floor and drop it at his door, and I went back down to get the 2 cases of water. So yeah, me carrying 2 cases of water into the building. I used the elevator, and yeah, it was hard. It was very heavy. Highly suggest that if you're gonna do Instacart, get a wagon, get a dolly, or any type of delivery service with food, like groceries, get a wagon or get a dolly, because it will save you so much time. It will save you trips, and it will save you all the physical energy you have to put into carrying the stuff. Like, I don't even think, like, do I really have to explain that? Just get a wagon. I'm gonna leave the one that I have down below. I think it holds like 150 pounds if I'm not mistaken. I freaking love that wagon. And it's so funny because every time when I'm using it and someone passes by me, they're like, oh my god, that's so smart. Like, why didn't I think of that? Get a wagon, y'all. Like, get a wagon and save yourself the trouble. My 5th and last mistake is going to places that are too far. Now, the reason why I say this is a mistake, and I can't believe I did this. I chose an order that was like really far. I don't even know why, but it was like, I think it was like 20 miles away, and then it was 10 miles away from that store, but it was going the opposite direction of where I live. That was a horrible decision. I definitely don't recommend going to places that are too far, because you got to keep in mind, you have to come back. You have to come back, and you're not getting paid for all those miles that you have to drive back to your original location, your household, or your original city of preference, whatever it is. You have to drive back. You're not getting paid for those miles or for that gas. I definitely don't recommend going to places too far. I know some people do that because the pay is better, but for me, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it, because when I'm driving back, I'm like, this is not worth, especially where I live. Again, I live in New York City / Long Island. It would take you 45 minutes to seriously go 15 miles or 10 miles. It's just so much traffic that after a while you're like, yeah, this isn't worth it. It's not worth the time. I don't recommend going to places that are too far, especially if you live in like New York City. I'm going to get into some of the tips that I picked up along the way, and these tips are truly what is helping me make the most money in Instacart and save a whole bunch of time. My first tip is to communicate, and I'm going to talk a lot about this because if you want to get more tips, a higher tip, you have to communicate. If you want to get better orders, you have to get better ratings. You have to communicate. You got to understand, like, Instacart is an app, it's an algorithm, and it's bots and robots. So pretty much what I'm trying to say is that people like to know that they're talking to a human and that a human is actually shopping for their orders and things like that. And I can speak firsthand as an Instacart customer. I've ordered on Instacart, or I've ordered groceries on Instacart.com, and I had this one guy, he literally did not communicate at all, and to me, that is. And in a way, I kind of wanted to decrease my tip, because you could at least say hello, hi, I'm here to shop for your order. But no, he didn't say nothing. But I left the tip as is because I'm also an Instacart shopper. So I was like, I understand. But at the same time, communicate. Customers like to know that there's a human behind the screen. Take some time to be, it actually doesn't even take a lot of time to be like, hey, my name is Ruth. I'm shopping for your order today. Let me know if you need anything else. If you're heading to checkout, tell them, be like, hey, I'm heading to checkout now. Just talk to them. Replacements, oh my gosh, that is like, if you have to deal with replacements, that's how you get the most money too, because they like that. They're like, oh, okay, you know, they're actually being thoughtful, you know, they're thinking of me. So for example, let's say there's no organic raspberry. This is so common with Costco. There's no organic raspberries, but there's regular raspberries. Just tell them like, hey, they're out of organic raspberries. Would you prefer this brand instead? Blah, 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 blah. Customers like that. They like when you suggest good replacements, and they like when you communicate. I'm telling you guys, that is the main way to increase your tips. Not only that, it increases your chances of getting a better rating, right? And better rating equates to better orders in the future. So that is my first tip. Communicate. We are not robots, we are humans. Communicate with your customer. So my second tip is, when you finally do get the card, the physical card, stay around the big stores like Costco, BJ's, Walmart. Stay around those stores, because that's really where you're gonna get the most of your money. Not saying ignore key food anymore. Don't do that. But like me, I start my day doing Costco, because Costco is like 10 minutes away from my house. It's so easy. And on top of that, I feel like stores like Costco, I never done a BJ's, but stores like Costco, I've been shopping at Costco since I was a baby. So I know Costco in the back of my hand. You gotta understand, these wholesale stores, their formats and layouts for their store are pretty much the same throughout all their stores. Like for example, with Costco, you're always gonna find that dairy, eggs, frozen produce, water. You're always gonna find that against the wall. You're not gonna find water section in the middle of the store. No. No. Usually in the middle of the store is the clothing, and then furniture. But we're not buying furniture on Instacart. But pretty much what I'm trying to say is that the layout is the same pretty much for all these stores, and I can literally get in and out of Costco so quick, no matter what Costco I go to, because I know that I know, and I understand the Costco layouts. Walmart's another big one, because especially in my area, you get a lot of like $50, $60, $70 orders, because a lot of people in Brooklyn like to order. So you know, it's like well, you don't know, but like with my Walmart, it's in Long Island, so usually the distance from Walmart to Brooklyn is like 12 miles. So they pay you a lot. They do pay you for that distance, which is really good. My only gripe about Walmart is that Walmart is really messy, and when it comes to their inventory, they're never like up to date with their inventory. So they could be like, oh hey, this brush is in stock on their website, but then you get there and the brush is not there, or it probably is there, just somewhere else laying across another part of the store. This isn't true for all Walmarts, but my Walmart is just very messy, it's very packed, and but the pay is definitely there. Like you get $50 to $70 orders at Walmart. Same with Costco, but Costco is way more organized. Like I said, I know the layout, and I'm just gonna assume that's the same thing for all other wholesale stores such as BJ's, Sam's Club, but I never done those stores because I know Costco. I'm gonna stick with what you know, and I'm gonna stick with what I know. So that is tip number 2. Tip number 3 is to realize that ratings are key. And I talked about that in tip number 1. But ratings are so important because Instacart is more prone to giving better paying batches to those who have a higher rating. I mean, it makes sense. Why would they send a $70 order to someone who has a 2-star? You understand? So understand that ratings are so important, and that to get better ratings, you have to communicate with your customers, with the person you're shopping for. It doesn't take time, honestly. I've heard of a lot of like Instacart shoppers telling the customers, hey, if you can give me like a rating off my service. I don't do that because I don't do that. Maybe in the future, I just don't do that now, but I know a lot of other people do that to get their ratings up. It seems like a good way to get your ratings up. Me, I just communicate all the time. I'm really polite. I'm really nice to my customers, even if they didn't tip, or even if they're not being responsive. I still text them and let them know what's going on, because ratings are so important, and customers like to know that there is a human behind the screen and not a robot. Tip number 4 has to do with promos. When Instacart has a promo for the day, I suggest that you do them. So for example, it will be like do 4 orders and you'll make a guaranteed $120. Yeah, do that, but make sure you're putting minimal effort into them. So what I mean by minimal effort is that you could do low paying orders if you want. Don't always strive for the high paying ones with the most items, because understand what Instacart is saying. They're saying regardless of what you do, high or low paying, they're going to pay you that 120. So you might as well do the least amount of work so that you can get to that 120 without putting a whole bunch of effort in, and you still get that money. So again, tip number 4, do the promos. Don't choose orders with a lot of items in them or they're super far, because understand at the end of the day, you're still going to get that guaranteed pay that Instacart is talking about. Number 5 is a tip that I actually spoke about earlier, which was using 2 cards. Just use 2. Don't be afraid to use 2 cards. I remember I had an $80 order at Costco for a reason. It was a lot of waters, a lot of paper towels. Basically it takes up a lot of space in the cart. So I ended up using 2 cards for that order. And I remember I was just really overwhelmed with that order. So I ended up actually just shopping for the first person order. I've shopped for the first person's order, and I left the cart like somewhere discreet. And then I did the second person's order. And I don't recommend that because you kind of do waste more time doing that. But the thing is, with that particular order, the store was so packed. It was a Friday afternoon. The store was really packed. There was no way I could lug around 2 carts. I'm sorry, it was 2 flatbeds. So it wasn't like the regular cart. It was 2 flatbeds. There's no way I could lug 2 flatbeds around the whole entire Costco. It wasn't happening. So I did just do 1 customer's order. Once I finished with that, I just left it like in a corner somewhere, and then I went to go do the other person's order. Again, I don't recommend it, but I had to do what I had to do. I had to do what I had to do for the $80 in 1 hour, by the way. It worked out fine. The thing about, I don't recommend doing that for all stores because people still offer carts. But the thing about Costco is that people mind their business for the most part. They're not gonna steal something off somebody's cart because they know they can just find it. Like I feel like with Costco, you can leave a cart there. Nobody's gonna touch it. Nobody's gonna bother it. You know what I'm saying? As long as there's stuff in it. If it's an empty cart, oh yeah, people are taking the cart. I've done that before. But yeah, don't be afraid to use 2 cards. I actually recommend it so that you don't get overwhelmed or flustered or confused. It helps you out. It helps the cashier out. And again, it helps the customer out as well. So my last tip, and it's actually my favorite one, and that is to relax. Okay, just relax. Understand that this is just grocery shopping. You're just grocery shopping, and you're gonna get better and faster in time. Just keep repeating that to yourself. You're just grocery shopping. And I needed to hear that as well, because I remember for my first order, the one I was talking about with the 3 batches in one, yeah, I was so overwhelmed that I literally almost canceled the order, because I was in the grocery store just like, oh my god, I can't do this, oh my god. But for what though? But for what? Like, it's just grocery shopping. We know how to grocery shop. Don't get so overwhelmed. Don't get so anxious about it. And I also want you to realize that the more that you do it, you're gonna get better at it. You're gonna get faster at it. So relax. Anyway, that is all my tips for Instacart for today, and all the mistakes that I told you guys about. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you took something from it. I really hope you guys took something from it, because I want us all to win at these side hustles, okay? But again, subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, smash that like button, and thank you. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.